Okay, the top 14 is back. We still have to wait another week for Pro Day 2, but
Boo.
we enter the, what is it, last 7 games of the regular season, as they might call it
I
in
think
the
it's
States. It's
eight
eight.
if you
Ah,
include this round. Yeah,
still a fair old crack. Other than just being excited for the return of the top 14. So we've got, as we said, I think before the break, we've kind of got this like slightly three chunks league where we've got the three teams at the top, Toulon, Toulouse, Bordeaux, who appear to be fairly set, you'd suggest. And
yeah,
then fifth to 10th with 8 or 9 wins, a couple of bonus points separating them. And then kind of 11th, 12th, and then looking at the access match and automatic trapdoor slot, 6 or 7 wins each,
yeah,
give
yeah,
or take. Is it Van, Perpignan, Racing on six? Does that
yeah.
sound
So you've
about
got
right?
so the weird one is the kind of fourth. Fourth doesn't like Bayonne have double figures wins. They're the only other team outside of Toulouse, Bordeaux, and Toulon who have double figure wins. Cast have 9 wins and a draw, but they are 5 points behind Bayonne and they're only 2 points ahead of Leon. So we're putting him in that Cast in fifth, going into that middle section, and La Rochelle in 10th are 4 points behind Cast in fifth with 8 wins, and everyone above them also only has 8 wins. And Leon, with their couple of draws, are kind of at the top edge of that. Whereas in 11th, there's a 6 point gap between La Rochelle in 10th and Stade Francais in 11th. They have 7 wins. Racing and Perpignan 6 wins and a draw. Van 6 wins. So that is kind of, you can categorize it. There's little areas where there are more than 4 points between. So you
Hmm.
can kind of stratuspherize it. Is that a word?
I'm
Um,
not sure it is.
I think, but I think that's where the kind of those there's intrigue in like every bit of that. I think like what's the which segment interests you the most of those three segments?
Oh, it's hard to look past the bottom of the table just because of the the stature and the fact that you've still got Stad and Racing very much in that mire. I think it's hard to look past. I think actually the bit that's interesting is maybe that kind of fourth place because Bayonne had probably had a better season than any of us anticipated. And I guess the two kind of big hitters, you would say, certainly in terms of like squad depth, perceived quality, Montpellier and La Rochelle have very much been going the other way. It's not like they sort of come out of a rut, or a bit like Montpellier did last year, or they've had a sporadic. I mean, they have had a sporadic season, but they have been in something of a bit of a decline, both of them, after reasonable-ish starts. So I think it's for me, it's whether it's that sort of fourth place. Can Leo mount a charge? Can Cast pick up enough away from home to stay in the fight for a barrage spot, which I'm not, unfortunately, not entirely convinced by. Um, yeah,
Well, I can tell you,
that's it
Richard,
for me.
having listened back to last year's podcast today,
Mm.
Cast were in fifth at the equivalent period last year and
And
ended
they
up what,
bombed it, didn't
eighth?
they?
Yeah.
Well, they were
So
still in with
no,
a
they missed
shout
out
on
on
the
like
last
points different.
game,
Yeah.
but they bombed it and then like scraped back.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Can I see? I suppose the question is, and I think you mentioned this when we were kind of WhatsApping earlier, is can you see any of those being broken? Is anyone going to get pulled from that kind of middle pack? Is anyone going to get pulled into the relegation battle in 4 weeks' time after if they go on a bit of a crap trot? And is anyone? I'm not. I think the top three, the order, I don't know, but I think the top three is sussed.
Yeah.
Um, and then who can get that last fourth would be a home
Yeah. Yeah.
barrage
Fourth,
match.
fourth place fifth in the
So
barrage.
that feels like the big prize. Who
I
can
guess,
who can
yeah,
secure that?
we may have attracted the odd new listener, maybe one or two, probably, after Six Nations. So top 14, just to for anyone that isn't clear on it, the top two go automatically into the semi-finals, and then third to sixth go into the barrage, which is effectively a quarter-final. Third plays sixth, fourth plays fifth, with third and fourth teams getting home games. The winner of those games then goes into the semi-finals, which is a neutral venue, which this year is in Lyon.
Leon, yep,
Yeah. And
back to
then
back.
the winner of so they'll be on consecutive days. And then the winners of those go into the final, which will be back at the Stade de France this year. At the bottom, 14th gets automatically relegated, as happened to Oyonnax last year. 13th goes into a access match, as it's called, basically a playoff against the second or the losing finalist of the Pro D2 final, which was Montpellier last year, and they won that game against Grenoble to stay up. So 13th doesn't get you automatically relegated. You've got a chance against a Pro D2 team. But Sam Davis on our podcast a few weeks ago did say that he thought he does think that two
Yeah,
Pro D2 teams will go up, which I find interesting because,
yeah, I
as
like
he
that.
said, I think 13th could easily be Stade Francais or Racing, which is
Yeah,
mental. Imagine having Owen Farrell if he's in that
yeah,
access match. That's quite a key. Like if he does get fit, there's still rumors about. I'm not talking about the Lions, but there's still rumors abounding about the Lions, and it's just remarkable to think that people are even considering him on this season's form
yeah.
because he's looked so off the pace. I think the bit, I mean, quite perhaps parochially, the bit that interests me most is that middle section because A, Poa in it, and B, I can't quite work out in that fifth to 10th. So Cast, Lyon, Clermont, Montpellier, Pau, La Rochelle. I couldn't tell you who the best team of that bunch is. I think I would probably lean towards it being Cast, but I couldn't tell you who the second best team in that bunch is. I probably lean towards it being Clermont if they've got everyone fully fit, which they
Yeah,
didn't towards the end of that. And they really badly needed that break. Whereas Lyon could have done without the break. They were going quite well. La Rochelle needed a break because they were shambles. Pau were going quite well before the break. Montpellier probably needed, like, they were kind of all either in need of the break or the break was coming at a bad time. Um, I just don't know who's good in that. And I think that's
it's
some real intrigue,
it's
and it will
really
change
tricky.
every week. It will change. Like
Yeah,
we'll probably have these games, and Poe will end up like sixth, and then they'll probably end up the following week in 10th. Like that's how this is going to go, I think, for the next 3-4 rounds.
yeah. Well, actually, it's interesting that the two yet there you think of maybe the strongest. I mean, that they've been awful, haven't they? But yeah, you would think in theory La Rochelle can't slide much further, but then we've said that at various junctures throughout the season, and it's been horrible. So
We've also said it about Racing and Stad. They've
yeah, well, exactly, yeah, and it's unforgiving. The team I think are really dangerous, and from that fourth downwards, I'm not sure I'd want to go and play Leon in a
I thought you were going
barrage
to say
game.
Leon.
I think they've just got that. They've got that like bit of sprinkling of stardust, haven't they? With Niniashvili, Quiyu, enough of the fundamentals. They're going to have, they've got. Hopefully, they'll have a good run of Guillard. He's going to go back as the new kind of big man of French rugby, and yeah, I think, and also I
They
do
got 10 that
feel,
kicks goals.
yeah, they've kind of got. We've said it before about Leon, and they went on that like 8 match losing or
Yeah.
non-winning run, didn't they? And they have got a bit of implosion in them, but I don't know. Niniashvili last season, you could before he goes to La Rochelle, you could see that meaning something. I honestly don't know, but it's beautifully poised. It really is.
I think they do seem a different side since the arrival of Karim Ghazal, and that is arguably they needed basically someone to organise their pack into something constructive,
Yeah,
which seems to be what Karim Ghazal is quite good at as a coach, and
and
they
he's
do seem to
just
have completely turned around their form since he's
just
come in.
signed in the last week, I think, a longish term deal at Lyon. He's
Yes,
confirmed
yeah.
into the next, well, certainly next season, which is, well, it's great for him, great for Lyon, I think, as you say, based on what we've seen since he arrived from Stade Francais. Um, yeah, pretty
And I think you
exciting.
only need to look at Stade Francais this season to last season to see
Yeah,
the impact he had there. I think so. The
definitely.
other question I asked you was which sides can you see? I guess which sides can you see going more than two places away from their current position? Or guess like which sides can you see switching between the stratospheres?
God. I was worried about Cast getting dragged into the mire because I was looking at a couple of the games they have coming up, and actually, I don't know, they're probably all right, and it's the same for everyone else. Like it sounds so obvious, but everyone's going to go through that. I think Stade Francais will drag themselves out. I don't know if they'll. I don't think they're going to challenge barrage, but I think a few weeks back we said of that. Well, at the time it was kind of Poe as well. Before they had a nice little run, they were the team I felt most comfortable about avoiding that 13th, 14th spot. So potentially they could sneak through. And I do genuinely feel okay, maybe not between proper stratospheres, but I feel like Leon into fourth place and getting a home barrage. They're the two for me. I can see making some proper shifts.
The ones interesting you went Stade Francais, I actually think the one team that could jump up from that bottom four is actually Racing, which is weird because I am
Yeah,
normally the one cheering for Stade Francais and you're normally the one cheering or support like giving the case
backing.
for yeah. And I think
Yeah, I
that
get
kind
that.
of because I think Faz is going to be fit, and and it's a big if he gets fit and finds some form, and you have a backline of Lagarek, Farrell, Tuisova, Fiku, Habosi, Sam James, Max Spring. Like that's a backline that
That
should
should
be
not
doing
be
a
struggling, should it?
yeah, and it does all hinge on can Faz get fit and can he do the job that he was kind of brought in. It's amazing listening to last year. I was like, talking about Racing not having any halfbacks and not having any direction in their back line. It's like, oh wow, that's quite similar to this year because it all kind of hinges on Lagarek and Farrell, and if they do get fit and they can find a relationship and a partnership, they will be good. They will be fine. Um,
Yeah. There's a bit of a kind of mental, for want of a better word, thing to that, isn't there? Of Farrell coming back for a tussle at the bottom. It feels, it's a big old cliche, but it
you
feels
can
like
just see
exactly the
it
sort of
now, can't you?
fight that,
Yeah,
yeah, you can see that kind of big fist pump as he,
it's
I don't
that
know,
one, isn't it?
sends
Like
sends someone down, and yeah, there'll be a dodgy no arms tackle in there that, yeah,
gets a
who
yellow.
knows?
Yeah, I
Could
think
be could be fun to watch.
the other ones that I think could move between those bands, I do think Poe could easily slide back down into that battle because they had a good run. They've got a horrible run coming up. If they win against Montpellier on Saturday, that could be really key because that then does give them a cushion before they go to Toulouse and Bordeaux. And I'm going to say La Rochelle, but I don't know which way.
Yeah,
Like, I do think they could either click and be kind of back to being good and sneak into the barrage, or they could go the Racing route and the depths keep getting deeper. I genuinely don't know. I think they've got so many. Like, you look how many players they've got in that French squad that have played so well in the Six Nations. They just can't. They've got players in form that know the system, and I think that's going to count for something at some point.
you'd think so. This weekend, just a quick nod. La Rochelle host my boys cast. You would assume a few of those French players or Aldrit Boudon might get a bit of time to put their feet
Eventually,
up. Did see a picture of Greg Aldrit, Jelanche, and Dupont earlier having what looked like a long lunch. And Aldrit did not look like a man who would be playing this weekend. He looked
they're three boys
slightly
from Osh, aren't they?
oh yeah, yeah. Is it Osh? Is that how you pronounce it?
Mm.
That was the caption underneath, like the sort of Oshelloise or Osheboise or something like that.
Was
I'm
Tony
not
D smiling because he looked very sad on Saturday?
mm, not massively,
Yeah.
little bit of a kind of happy grimace, I guess. I don't know if Cast are going to get anything out of that. If they get a losing bonus point, I'd probably be pretty happy. But if they can raid the Marcel de Flanders a few times teams have done this year, that'd be
Could
quite
be a
fun.
could be a real window to the soul of La Rochelle that game. Like we
Hmm.
could see which way they're going to go, because if they could easily kind of run out and put 40 points on Cast, and it's like, okay, well, they're actually going to be good. Or if they kind of scrape a win that they're kind of lucky to get, then yeah,
Yeah,
that battle is going to continue.
we will see. Po Montpellier in times gone by, the Siminzico, but Sam Simmons has generally been on the bench or not in the squad of late.
Sminzico.
Um,
I think
One, will we see their uncle with the half and half shirt as per last year or earlier this year? Um, fancy that?
it's at the Hamo, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that could be quite key. I mean, it's not a great matchup for Poe, is it? They're with Montpellier's pack is very, very strong. I just think it might be quite a good time to catch them. It could, and that again could be because Montpellier were going really well, and then they've started to unravel slightly. It'll be interesting to see. Again, that's a kind of window to the soul of both those sides and kind of where they're at and which way they're going in this run in.
yeah. And then there's a load of other games going on, obviously, but the showpiece is Sunday night. It is Sunday
As
night,
it
isn't
was
it?
after the Six Nations last year, remarkably. Same fixture. Amazing how that happens.
Bordeaux-Bègles to lose at the Matmut Atlantique, which sold out
Is
very
it is it the
quickly.
is it the Allen Sieg?
I believe so, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
you would imagine shorn of a few superstars, but will probably be quite a good watch. That's my pre-game spiel on that.
Do you think Jalibert's back from his holiday in Rio de Janeiro?
Probably, yeah. Yeah,
Ankle
he
all
was there,
fine.
wasn't he, on Saturday? He
Oh,
was
was he? I
in
didn't
the
see
crowd.
him.
He was sat next to the pond, yeah.
Ah, oh, they do. They are friends then.
Well,
Yeah, it is at
yeah.
the Matmut Atlantique.
Should be a beat.
Toulouse going to win that.
Alrighty. Yeah, I reckon they probably will.
Yeah,
It's imperious, and they've like
yeah.
okay.